to do today is just basically talk about the co-design process, which I see a fellow co-designer is sitting in the room with me, how it's currently working, how we're navigating that, and then what we can see or how we can see the marketing of Northern Ireland's farming going forward. So look, just before we start, a little bit about the Ulster Farmers Union. We have 12,000 members. There are around 25,000 farm business IDs in Northern Ireland. The exercise we're doing at the moment is we're trying to sort of deep dive into how many business IDs we actually represent. We reckon it's somewhere between 18,000 19,000 farm business IDs in Northern Ireland. We have a lot of members who have got 2 business IDs, but they pay 1 membership as such. So it's not just 12,000 members we represent, but it's actual, and that's something we're trying to do at the moment. But I suppose why have the 25 local groups? They're a key integral part of how the actual structure of the UFU works. So we're a top to down, bottom up sort of approach. We have got 25 local groups. Those local groups represent people onto committees from their local area. We have 16 policy committees. That represents from fruit, veg, to dairy farming, to hill farming, to legislation, to rural affairs, to renewables. Then we have county committees, and then we have an executive committee. So our group reps go to our policy committees. Our policy committees discuss their individual themes, individual topics. They'll have a position. It'll go to our executive. Our executive meets tonight. And that designs our policy position as UFU. So it works from bottom up, down, and that's been the structure for the last 105 years, and I hope that it'll last for another 105 years. Some people think it's not quick enough, etc., but it's how do you actually get member involvement? And it's democratic. People are voted on at local group level. People are voted on as chair, vice chairs for the committees, etc. And then we obviously have a president and deputy presidents, and they are voted for by our council. It's our council vote those people on, and they run every a 2-year term. So effectively, we represent all sectors and all farm sizes throughout Northern Ireland. So look, I head up the policy team in the UFU, and here are some of the key things that we've been working on in 2025. It has been absolutely manic so far this year. With budget inheritance tax still rumbling on at the minute. I know Seamus will be covering it later on, but I mean we're still on a fight on this one, and we're lobbying away at the moment. Our president was over in Westminster last week chatting to Labour MPs, and I don't know, we're maybe getting a chink of light that there could be some sort of movement, and I'm not saying it's going to be a total reversal, but there might be something. Obviously environment, and in terms of environment we're dealing with, and I'll come on to it later, we have the NAP review currently ongoing at the minute. We have ammonia, we have climate change targets, climate budgets, we have a farm with nature that we're working on, animal health and welfare, we have TB's rife, never been as bad in Northern Ireland as it is at the moment, so something needs to change there. With bird flu, we had at the start of the year, it's been lifted, but always a risk. We've got blue tongue, which is creeping up across England, which we're particularly concerned with. Future ag policy, the Minister's intention is that we start into the new system as of the 1st of January 2026, and we still haven't designed some of the schemes for 1st of January 2026. And then we still have supply chain and trade issues. We've got trade deals done with Donald Trump. We've horrendous things happened at the weekend, and dear only knows what's going to happen now with agriculture in terms of it. We've already seen oil jump up, so what other commodities will bounce up as a result? It will have implications, there's no doubt, and we don't know. So they're just some of the things that we're dealing with on UFU at the moment. Basically, future ag policy, this is DAERA's vision, not UFU's vision, DAERA's vision. So this is their cogs of their wheels, and they want the 4 cogs working together, so they'll all drive each other. They want to increase productivity, they want to be environmentally sustainable, they want to improve resilience, and they want to operate with an effective, a functioning supply chain. And we all can't really complain. That all sounds wonderful and lovely, but how on earth do you get that to actually work? But what is massive, and this is something that we have in Northern Ireland, which nowhere else has, and the rest in England, Scotland and Wales, and I'm going to put that down to the UFU. We got that. I don't know where you've seen in the news, the UFU ran a rally at the Econ Arena last year, November, on inheritance tax. 6,500 farmers turned up. Some turned and went home because they got fed up waiting. Now, it maybe didn't get a reversal of APR, IHT. However, every political party in Northern Ireland was at that event last night, and they all backed Northern Ireland agriculture. And it's not very often you get that in Northern Ireland where every single party in Northern Ireland actually agreed, but they agreed. And what they agreed to last night is a ring-fenced budget for agriculture, which is massive, because no other area in the UK has that. We have that in Northern Ireland. Now, no time limits on it, but it sets a direction that we actually do have the money to design and work schemes around. So, the main schemes, and this is part of the co-design process. And what does co-design mean? Basically, DAERA bring in a room. In the room is 5 from the UFU, 2 from NIAPA, who are the other farming organisations. The Northern Ireland Environment Link, the umbrella for the environmental NGOs, they have their seats. You have got the meat processors, dairy processors, Northern Ireland Food and Drink Association. You've got the Veterinary Association. They're all in a room, and they're there to try and come to some sort of agreement and put their way forward. So DAERA will come in. They will say, "This is what we're thinking." They'll present it, why they're thinking it. You've got 1 month to decide, and they'll ask you questions. Go away, look at that, have a discussion on that, and come back with your answers. And then everyone goes away from their all separate organisations, and they feed back into that process, and DAERA will try and find some sort of a common ground to work on some sort of a future policy position. We laugh, co-design's good while you're getting what you want, and it's not a great process if you don't get what you want. That's the simple way of looking at it. So effectively, UFU and Northern Ireland Environment Link have got a seat at the table on each one of these issues, which I would say, and Kevin will back me here, it is a huge time constraint as us for organisations that we have to go to meetings on every single one of these work streams as part of the code. And it's a huge strain on our resource, on my time actually as well, because I have to probably cover the majority of these. And basically what all of these, so there's farm sustainability payment. So the farm sustainability payment, I'll come on to it later, is your payment per hectare, payment per acre. There's a beef sustainability package, which has 50 million has been siphoned off for it. So the beef sustainability package, there's 2 schemes under it. Farming with Nature package, that's the future environmental scheme. There's farming for carbon, there's investment, knowledge and innovation, farming for the generations, where you see Rural Support who are running the pilot scheme for it, and a supply chain package. Then underneath that, cross-cutting measures, we have a soil nutrient health scheme. So the Northern Ireland, we're leading on this one. So soil nutrient health scheme, every part of the soil nutrient health scheme, and we're now on year 4 at the tail end of this year, every field in Northern Ireland is going to be soil sampled. So basically a farmer gets his data of every field that he owns, of his indices for P, K, his liming, what his pH is, etc. on that field, and that is worth leading. That's a separate pot of money which has been given for that, but it's basically given to the farmer to basically drive efficiencies on his or her farm. A ruminant genetics program, again, it's been set up at the separate set of money which has been set up. Again, it's going to be every animal in Northern Ireland is going to be DNA profiled. It'll allow then farmers to break down and basically drive economic efficiency, environmental efficiency of their animals. And then there's a carbon benchmarking program, and as part of it, unfortunately, it hasn't got up and running yet due to legal issues. But basically, every farmer in Northern Ireland will have to do a carbon audit, and that is part of the Climate Change Act 2022 of Northern Ireland. And then obviously there's one massive bit of work which DAERA are really keen on is horticulture. They really do see horticulture, there's a huge drive. They want to have 50% growth in horticulture in Northern Ireland, but they still haven't designed a scheme on how they're actually going to do it, which is incredibly annoying, but they want to have, yes?
What's horticulture?
That's basically, well, what they want to do is I see horticulture, an increase in strawberries and dessert apples. They want to see growth, greenhouses up and we grow veg, etc. Grow more veg, fruit veg. Okay, so look, our farm sustainability payment, basically that is it will continue on. This is be from the 1st of January 2026. There will be a payment per acre, a payment per hectare. It sits there at this pot of money. There's money for beef carbon schemes, etc. That comes out of the 300. What you must do, or what you must have, if you must have been farming or had livestock in your herd, sheep or cattle in your herd in years of 2020, 2021 as a base year, or you must have grown more than 3 hectares of a crop, of a horticultural crop. And that will also be, as of next year, that will be capped at £60,000. But it's conditional. You must have participated in the Soil Nutrient Health Scheme. There'll probably be a nutrient management plan moving forward. You have to have an individual nutrient management plan for your farm. There will be cross-compliance standards. DAERA are keen on making this genetic profiling as conditional. And you also must take part in the carbon benchmarking program, so you'll have to do a carbon audit as well to be conditional for that payment. The beef sustainability payment, what it's effectively aimed at, there's one for suckler cows and there's reducing the age at slaughter. Why? It's basically to improve productivity, it's to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions, and it's to lower your environmental footprint. So the beef carbon reduction scheme is now in operation for its 2nd year, and the suckler cow scheme, it started this year. And then the Farming with Nature package, this is the overarching framework, so this is the new environmental payment. There'll be a Farm Nature Plus, and Farm Nature Landscape. Okay, so you can go into different scape. And in terms of sort of a deep dive into that one, we have got a launch of this scheme of what it'll look like now that is launching June 2025. And it basically rewards you for environmental public goods. So that would be initially payment for hedgerows, riparian strips, tree planting, winter stubble, multi-species cover swords. And effectively, and it was talked about earlier on, it's to benefit grass and health and biodiversity and carbon sequestration. So look, future phases will look at landscape projects, but the Minister's intention is that scheme will be really to fully launch in 1st of January 2026. So I chatted about the beef carbon reduction, or about the sustainability payment. So the sustainability payment and the Farming with Nature will work out of the same pot of money. So as the sustainability payment, as more people avail of the Farming with Nature scheme, the sustainability payment will come down. So payment per acre, payment per hectare will come down as more people avail of the Farming with Nature. As you can see, there's all the different schemes we're talking about, and when DAERA want to start implementing. So the Soil Nutrient Health Scheme, which was the testing of the soils for every field in Northern Ireland, it finishes now this winter, so everyone will be done. Genetics program is launched and up and running, but it's not part of the single farm payment as yet. The carbon benchmarking program has started, but again, it's legal issues have put it back, so you can see. But, and I must say, most scheme rollout has been delayed. And I would say majority have all been delayed by 1 year or 2 years, which is incredibly frustrating. So, what will I say about the co-design process? It's a real opportunity. We get to say what we feel, we get to put it in person. We're drafted in, it could be once every 2 weeks or once a month, where you get to put your views across, and it's actually real good actually to hear any NGO's point of view too, and they can get to hear farmers' view as well, so you can almost barter a bit across the table. What I do like about it is the actual engagement in it, and what I like about it as well is DAERA ask us, they present to us, they then give us the presentation, they ask us questions, and it allows us then to engage with our members, and we can get proper good feedback from our members, grassroots farmer, bog standard, 5/8 farmer, and ask their views. And it's a good way to communicate to them, let them know a direction of travel that we're actually going. They feed into the process, and then it's up to me to try and get to some form of a consensus what the UFU's view are, and then I feed that back to DAERA. So it's a good way to try and get, what I like about it is a good way of getting our members involved. However, whilst we're doing this, DAERA can go off with other things and makes the relationship with us and DAERA particularly difficult when we're trying to co-design process, and here's one, and I can't not mention it. Nutrients Action Programme, it's been on the news as the past month. So basically, DAERA launched a consultation looking at NAP for 2026 and 2029. It's looking at all the existing Nutrients Action Programme sort of measures, and it's looking at additional measures, and it's looking at 30 changes. It's basically looking at the phosphorus surplus in Northern Ireland. It wants to reduce the risk of agricultural pollution in waterways. It's about implementation of the Lough Neagh Action Plan, and it's to be compliant with the habitats regulations, which we all can't disagree with as the UFU, but we just don't think DAERA are going the right way about it. And we have severe issues with the lack of consultation process on this. You know, why co-design future ag policy but not bring us in to try and co-design this? And that's, as an industry, that we're asking for, is to try and sit down. If you're going to co-design future ag policy, well, let's sit down and co-design this, because you know we have got together the whole of the entire agri-food industry in Northern Ireland. We've got 40 representatives in the room, and the amount of innovation, knowledge, experience, expertise in that room who could do good, and I would say it's probably lacking in DAERA. Get those people in a room and let's plot a way forward. I get a bit of common ground. I'll get off my soapbox. I'll go next. So look, while this is going on, we've got climate change, we've got greenhouse gas emissions in the UK, greenhouse gas emissions in Northern Ireland. You know, and across the UK it's 10%, but in Northern Ireland the greenhouse gas emissions sits at 27%, and that is a challenge that we're going to have to come across and gets thrown at us. But I always look at the positives. Look, Northern Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions for agriculture has reduced from 1990. Or sorry, the greenhouse gas emissions from Northern Ireland have decreased, but unfortunately Northern Ireland agriculture emissions have increased, so we're going to have to do something. But always remember, we have to find a balance. And what is that balance? And I keep reiterating this to people. We need to feed people, and we need to feed people with safe, nutritious and affordable food. 820 million people suffered from hunger in 2021. It's projected that productivity needs to increase globally by 60%. There will be 2.5 million additional people in the UK by 2030. We have climate change, which agriculture has to cope with. Agriculture land has already decreased by 21%. We have a further reduction in yields of grains, oilseeds, wheat and rice. 17% reduction is expected by 2050. And during serious drought events in the past decades, there was a loss of 20 to 60% loss of animals. Whilst this is all happening, and we have to support rural communities, local economy, so there has to be a journey. There has to be a right balance, because people need fed, and that's where we're going to have to find that sweet spot. And you take a look at what just happened at the weekend. Food security in the UK has never been more serious and more needed. It's certainly precariously low at 60%. At the minute, with what is going on there at the minute and what America done at the weekend, do we really need that sitting at 60%? It needs to be probably 20% higher. Whilst we're calling to have an extra 2.5 million additional people in the UK by 2030. That's why government are going to have to sort of get real and realise where food is coming from. And we're going to have to produce it. And we're going to have to produce it in a sustainable way, but we can do that in the UK with the right tools. So, and this will come on. What is our USP here in Northern Ireland? We're grass-based production. This is where we've got the competitive advantage. We're grass-based production, we're efficient, we're sustainable, and we're incredibly high animal welfare. We work to red tractor, we work to RSPCA standards in some of our sectors. We've got quality, traceability. We have a traceability system in Northern Ireland, which is, we are told, is world leading. So we work to those high standards. Rural farms, family farms, we're the heart of rural Northern Ireland. We are 113,000 jobs in the agri-food industry across Northern Ireland. We are now a £6 billion sector. We're not to be sniffed at. We're probably the backbone of this little country. And we have, in terms of environmental question, farmers are land stewards, and they're already delivering a public good. And I think that gets lost in translation, that they are already delivering a public good. And yes, they can do more, but they are already doing that. So, it's how do we communicate that healthy grasslands and soils, what that means, and we mentioned in your slide earlier on, the healthy soils, healthy nation, etc., and how we communicate that to the wider public. And I suppose at the minute, in the background of this going on, there was a Peter Kendall report which was set up 2-3 years ago, and in the process, the agri-food industry has sort of come together and are setting up a board called Sustainable Food NI, which it's hoped in the future that will be some sort of same as an Origin Green or we're in Scotland, etc., the Scottish Food and Drink, where they were able to, we have a USP, it's our marketing body for our good stamp for NI produce. Because we, as I said there, we have got that fantastic story to tell. We're just shockingly bad at doing it, and we're just a bit disjointed, and we need to come together and be joined, and how we actually do that. So, what I would say, and this is a massive one, and I feel real passionate about, is the education skills for the future. There is a need for continuous learning, and I can see it amongst our members. And I probably, government don't make it easy. They get acronyms just confuse our members. They confuse me, and I'm dealing with them every day, but our members are really confused, and they almost switch off because it just becomes too complicated. There are new skills required in terms of natural capital assessment, advanced soil and grassland management, carbon accounting. Every field in Northern Ireland is going to be soil sampled. Farmers are getting these soil sample results landing on their tables at home, and they probably don't understand the results that they've actually getting. So there's a bit of work needs there. There's probably needs collaboration between farmers with educators like CAFRE and research bodies like AFBI. It's really important. We need to improve what we're teaching. And then farming for the generations. It's a pilot which is ongoing there at the moment, which Rural Support are dealing with. But it's getting those younger people on the farm, getting mum, dads to basically take a step back and let the next person take the step. But as part of that, there will be CPD, and to be able to do that, opportunities to go to other parts of the world to actually go and learn things and what to do. But there's huge benefits and upside on that if we can do it. And I think education and skills as well. I think we need to improve our courses here, and I'm harp on it about Queen's, etc. We lost the old Bachelor of Agriculture degree, we lost the old Animal Health and Science degree, we lost the old the degree that I done, the old Ag Economics degree. They're all gone, and we need to get them back, because I can see within the minute there's a sort of a brain drain that we're losing here, especially within our own civil service from those people. The old guard, we've had a lot of retirements within DAERA, and they all had that background of those degrees. And we can see now with those degrees not being in existence for the last 10 years, we can start to see a bit of a brain drain now in Northern Ireland, and we need to get those degrees back up and running. Not everyone's going to go into that and home to farm, so let's cater for people who have a real passion for the industry but aren't coming home to farm but have got a good skill set. Let's get them in there to you. So, in summary, 2025, huge, very busy year. Huge changes, policy changes could come this year which could either make or break Northern Ireland agriculture. There are positives and there are negatives, but we just got to strike the balance. But on one thing is that as a UFU, we'll continue to lobby for our members. We've been here for the last 105 years and we'll continue to do so. And that's part and parcel of the job. So look, thank you for listening, and if you have any questions.